Hello and welcome back. I hope you enjoyed those messages from our friends from NBC Universal. We are shifting gears now and focused all on Netflix. So you guys got to see the first 3 episodes of Hollywood last night. All 7 will be dropping on Friday for the rest of the world to see. But the reason you got the sneak peek is because we have 3 of the most incredible cast members from Hollywood with us right now. Here we go. Dylan McDermott, Holland Taylor, Patti LuPone. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So if you have questions or comments, you can call us at 1221. Some of you have been given the Zoom password. You can Zoom in and ask questions directly. But before that, tell us a little bit about what this series was like. Like, what part of this made you say, oh, I have to be part of it? Is it Netflix? Is it Ryan Murphy? Is it all of it? What brought you into the fold? Dylan, we'll start with you.
I guess firstly, Ryan asked. So when that happens, that's always a good day. And I always thought it was an interesting world. I mean, I've always been fascinated by old Hollywood and the glamorous side to Hollywood and the attraction to that. And that's initially why, when you first start watching movies, you're like, wow, that's a world I want to be a part of. And I think that was the draw of Hollywood initially, that you didn't know anything about these people. You could only see them in the movies. And I always liked that part. I don't like the part now where, the paparazzi or everybody knows what kind of underwear you wear. Back then, it was the mystery was still alive and the glamour was still alive. So I was always attracted to that.
Who wants to take it next? Holland?
Holland.
Sure. Well, for me, it turned out to be obviously, first of all, the answer to your question was Ryan. I've never worked for Ryan. And he said that line, which we hear often, I might have misspelled for you. And you think, okay. But as it turns out, the part really suited me to the ground in terms of what I enjoyed. And so I was just delirious as the script started to arrive. But for me, it turned out to be kind of a meta experience because I am older. I'm considerably older, and I'm the oldest one on this panel, that's for sure. And I'm playing someone who is older, who is a seasoned veteran in Hollywood, and I am a seasoned veteran in Hollywood. So it was very rich to perform it because the character has a lot of opinions. She's easygoing and gracious at expressing them, but she has strong views. And I felt so as if I really had a foundation in playing this character. Without even thinking about it, I just felt in place for it. And I guess that is the whole meta effect of it. And also I love that period. So it was really very joyful, and I think I speak for Patti, I know at least. It was hard to say goodbye to this.
Well, the relationship that the two of you had in terms of your characters, was so much fun to watch and to kind of feel part of.
It was wonderful. My Ryan asked me. I'm in the same position Dylan is. It's a good day when Ryan asks you to be in one of his shows. But I have to say, the other thing that was so attractive to me is when I was a kid in Northport, Long Island, and went to the Dollar movie theater, the Northport movie theater. At 12 years old, I fell in love with Tommy Kirk in Disney's Swiss Family Robinson, and I marched out of that movie theater determined to go to Hollywood and be Tommy Kirk's leading lady. And even though I knew I was born for the Broadway musical stage, I wanted to be a movie star. And that didn't happen. So when this show came along, the fact that we shot in Hollywood, a series about Hollywood, right opposite the Hollywood sign, was this mad dream come true for me.
We've had many fundraisers around the fountain that plays so prominently in the first several episodes. Paramount is, I think it's the oldest studio in Hollywood proper.
It's the first one I worked at, and it was so beautiful. And I'd been a New Yorker for me. I was about 38, I think, when I came out here to do this in weddings. And I worked at Paramount, and it was so beautiful. You leave work at night, and the sky was pink, and the black palms against these beautiful white sound stages.
Well, there you go. The elegance.
Elegance.
The elegance, that was sadly missing today, but the elegance and the grace and the dignity of that period, of the beginning of Hollywood, of the golden age of Hollywood.
But also the accessibility, the fact that you could, as a hopeful, stand in front of the gate and wait for someone to come out and point at you. Like that doesn't exist anymore. You know?
No, people don't even go in for auditions anymore. Everything's on tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unmentionable.
So we had a documentary. We are broadcasting live. The closed circuit television station is a creative platform for the residents who live here. When everything got shut down and there was no communal dining, no bingo, no poker, no recreational activities where people could gather, we decided we were going to go live 3 days a week and give the residents a chance to interact and take over the broadcasting by producing and starring in content for half an hour or 30 minutes or whatever. The workout classes that they do, we do them now over the internal television station. So all of that to say, we're in a movie theater that's on the campus of the retirement community. And in this movie theater, we showed the documentary about Scotty Bowers.
Oh, wow.
Oh. The oldest now.
That's a good one to
Somebody
show.
raised their hand and said, I went to that gas station.
Yeah, if you went to the gas station, give us a call at 1221.
Yeah. They were embarrassed. All they did was get gas there, but yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right.
So I got emails last night and a few phone calls this morning saying, we watched, is this Scotty Bowers? Like, don't we know this guy? So, Dylan, I put that to you. Is this Scotty Bowers?
I mean, Ryan and Ian will tell you no. And I think it's loosely based on him. Ryan coined a phrase, which I think is perfect for this show, faction. That's exactly what it is. It's a mix of facts and fiction. And yes, are there elements to Scotty Bowers? Of course. But also it's Ryan and Ian's imagination, how I developed the character. I kind of made him parts of Clark Gable mixed with Scotty Bowers, and then you have the love child of Ernie West. So, it's imagination. It's faction, really. That's the perfect word for it.
Situation is factual.
Yeah.
That gas station, what went on with this factual.
Yes, but other things are not exactly.
And there are things that you read before, like I didn't grow up here. I grew up on the East Coast as well. And moving to LA, you are like, oh, that's where the Garden of Eden was. And that's where, so to see it really represented in Hollywood is pretty bold. Like, was there any trepidation around the production of how far do you take this?
We are merely players. You would have to ask Ryan and Ian that question.
Yeah.
So, again, I know that some of the residents have the Zoom. Please Zoom in. We're ready to, let me see if any of the non-video participants here are some of our resident friends. While we do that, were there any echoes in the characters that you were portraying? Like, Ernie is just larger than life at points. Like, I want whatever drug he happens to be on. Right?
I have some.
Good. So we're
Getting you through these times, is it?
were there moments where you felt like, yeah, this may be a little step too far?
In the show? In
Yeah.
the writing of the show?
No, in the performance, because there are moments that are very over the top.
What do you mean by too far?
Yeah, are you accusing us of overacting?
I am not. I'm not.
Okay,
one
this
of the things
interview is over. That's it.
No, one of the things I
What do
was
you
saying.
mean, doll? You mean in the writing of it, in the presentation of it?
I mean, in the presentation of it. I mean, were there moments? There you go. Hi, Phil.
Hi, Phil.
We've got everyone
Phil.
calling at once now because they're trying to save me from myself.
I can say for me, I don't think there was anything that was over the top in the scenes that I was in. And I think we had a glorious set of actors that know the difference between OTT and not. And I think that we managed to stay within the reality of something that might appear to be larger than life. Do you know what I mean? The reality of Hollywood at the time. But I think we succeeded in remaining real inside of that rather large reality.
So, like George Cukor's party, it's all very hypersexualized, and I don't know. I didn't do research around it. Like, does that seem like it was close to what the reality of that was? Because it seems very broad. I think that's
I
what I'm
hope
trying to
so.
get to.
I hope that happened.
Are you talking about activities, or are you talking about how they were performed? Because certainly parties like that absolutely happen.
Yes.
So Phil Gittleman,
Here, he's here to tell us about some of those parties right now.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Phil.
Welcome. You were all terrific last night. It was. I watched the first 3 parts, and it brought back a few memories. I started in 1963 as a talent agent, and
Wow.
I think a lot of that stuff was changing by then. I had heard about those stories. I had heard about.
Really, Phil?
Yes, really. My darling, you were wonderful. You were really cool. You were all just superb. And the Q-Corps parties, I never attended. I mean, it's not
sure.
my thing. But I had heard about that, and that those kind of situations took place. And I thought that for a cable mini-series, that you guys, I mean, the gentleman that produced it, they really opened it up, and I give them a lot of credit, because I don't think anybody has ever really touched that subject. I thought right away about this Scotty Bowers documentary, because I was wondering, Dylan, I guess you played his character.
Yeah, loosely based on, yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And because to hear him tell it, he was that character, and it was his gas station. That's the way it was presented to us here when we saw that film. But I commend you all, because I think that you entered a new arena, because I don't think it was, or at least I haven't seen anything as open and making people aware that those kind of situations, you know, really took place. But I enjoyed it. The first, second part, the third part really got me going. And so I'm very interested in seeing, what is it, a 6 hour?
So seven. Yeah, 7.
7 hour, okay, so I'll have to get Netflix. But
Holland.
I take my hat off to all of you, and you just did a good job. And
Thanks,
Thank
Phil.
you. Thank you.
thank you for doing what you do.
Hey, speaking of old Hollywood, by the way, I'm going to tell a little story about Phil. So in September of last year, Musso and Frank, can you think of any more iconic place in Hollywood than Musso and Frank?
We shot there quite a bit for the show.
So they celebrated their 100th anniversary. And as part of that 100th anniversary celebration, on actually the first day of their second 100 years, they had a special event for MPTF there. So they shut down the restaurant. It was a Saturday night. It was MPTF only. We had, I think, 100 people. We did it as a fundraiser. We had 100 people there. They changed the menu prices to 1919.
Cool.
And in the front room, when you first come in, sort of the long, narrow room, they turned it into a museum. So they had old menus and a whole bunch, photos from the history of, because it's been in the same family for 100 years. And one of the things they had there, opened up, was their account book. So they had house accounts. If you were a regular at Musso and Frank, you had a house account. So you're a big Starker at the end. You just wrote, 306, and you walked out, and everyone was very impressed at no cash or anything like that. So they had this book opened up, and they had opened it specifically because Steve McQueen had a house account. So they opened it to that page, and a bunch of us went to this event. Obviously, is for us, and we invited a bunch of our residents. So our residents were going through this, and they walk up to the book, and what's the first thing they see? 2 names under Steve McQueen. Phil Gittleman. Phil Gittleman, house account.
Steve McQueen. Yeah, Steve McQueen's calling him right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me get down.
He's trying to book them on a show. Yeah. Yeah. So this is iconic Hollywood. You had a house account at Musso and Frank.
I wish I had been alive when the Brown Derby and all the nightclubs in the 20s and 30s were where they went, and oh, it must have been spectacular. It must have just been, because none of that exists anymore. And I suppose what does exist now are like grunge bars and stuff like that. To be able to say we're going night clubbing.
Yeah.
In Hollywood?
Yeah.
Oh my God. It must have been.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Phil.
We had the other day, one of the new owners, Bob from Musso and Frank.
Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's actually third generation, Phil. He's the grandson or the great grandson of the original owners.
Nothing better happened to Musso and Frank's.
No.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, how are they surviving? Are they doing takeout or?
They have opted not to do takeout. They're still paying their staff, and they've been applying for the small business loans and anything they can to get by. But the bartenders have been there for decades. They're just as much part of the fabric of Musso and Frank's as
Yeah, in fact, they're involved in a high-profile lawsuit because they are, along with a bunch of others, are trying to claim that the COVID virus is business interruption. So they have business interruption insurance, and they claim that this COVID-19 should be swept into that, and the insurance companies are obviously arguing.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
What else do they do? You pay them and they don't give you your money.
Right.
Of course.
Right. Yeah.
So, Phil, any other questions that you are dying to ask because you've only seen the first 3? Are there things that you're hopeful for in the next episode?
Without telling tales out of I don't know how much you guys can talk about it, but I wonder how far do you take this situation? Henry Wilson, I never met Henry Wilson, but I heard about Henry Wilson. And when the Rock Hudson character mentioned Roy Fitzgerald, so that was his name, I sort of had an idea where that was going. But I just wondered how far do you go with this? Where does it go date-wise? It stays in the pre-World War II area?
Post,
right.
About Henry Wilson, I was going to say before, in terms of we've only seen the first 3 episodes, in terms of how true the events of this series are. The Henry Wilson character, as you know, is a historical person. He was a certain kind of agent, of which there are a good number, who operated in a certain way, and he figures more heavily as the episodes go on, and we really see how a guy like that operated. And it's, it replicates many stories one has heard about a lot of famous agents. And it's truthfully told and done incredibly by Jim Parsons.
Well, I thought that was a terrific choice for that character. He was perfect for that character. And he does it well. And, well, I look forward to see it. And just, I say thank you to all of you for spending your time with us. And it's a pleasure. And if I happen to see you at Musso Frank's, maybe I'll have my credit card with me.
Thanks, Phil.
Your house
Thanks
account
a lot,
is
Phil.
still in good standing. Mark said that your house account is perfect.
Yes,
great.
yes, it is. As I said to Mark, I said, since I'm here, I've been here since March of 2015, and I go there not as often. But when I do and I put the card on the table, the waiters look at it and they're not quite sure how to take it. But they do. But and also I think for those of you that love Musso's, it looks like he's going next door to the big room.
Yeah, now he's taken over that space to the east of him, and he's turning it into a sort of more of a banquety kind of large event space.
So it'll be the new room.
Yeah.
Will that wall come down, do you think? Or
I think they're probably going to cut an entryway into it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, folks, and you're all just what a joy, and it's terrific to see you guys in action.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks, Phil.
The openness that Phil referred to is what I was trying to get to. This topic hasn't really been explored in such a vivid way before. And it was, I have to imagine, really risky because Netflix gives you a lot of latitude. There's so much more that you can be doing on the streaming platform than you could be doing on cable TV. So was there a lot of liberation in that? The performances that you guys have given, I had the privilege of seeing all 7. I know how it ends. There are moments towards the end of your character, Patty, that are heartbreaking to me. It is such an incredible arc, and
Thank you.
it's this is an industry we all love, and it's got very dark peaks, valleys to it. The peaks are incredibly high. The valleys are hard to look at.
But they're there.
But they're there, indeed.
But they're there. I mean, that's courageous on Ryan's and Ian's part. I think for actors, I mean, Dylan is in a separate category than Holland and I are. Holland and I are still very restricted because we're women and we are, in a certain way, a certain way we have to behave. We were not privileged to stay at the party when all the boys showed up. We were quickly escorted out, which I didn't like, but I thought we should have stayed. If you're going to do it, let us all do it. Holland had to take a drunk Davis home. It was a drag, man.
One of the best lines of that episode is, "She's all sheets to the wind."
Yeah.
God, you're a mean drunk, I said.
So I was curious, is this, how many of you have worked on streaming shows before, and could you share, because for our residents, the streaming platform is a completely new experience. I wonder, could you share, are there differences between working on a streaming platform as opposed to shooting something for the network? Obviously, there's no broadcast standards, but is there a different feel to the whole thing, or?
No, I don't think it's not much of the great thing about the only difference is that on Friday you can watch all the episodes.
Yeah.
And that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's what's changed, I think, in all our lives is this idea that you can watch all these episodes. You don't have to wait a week.
Right.
That's the glorious thing about it.
Yeah.
We're shooting the same way we would shoot it if it was on, NBC or ABC we're in a studio and doing the same setups, etc. It's just what happens after we finish our work, and that's the streaming side of it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have obvious act breaks, and you have bigger budgets as well, right? I mean, I have to imagine the budget for this.
Here's my question. If there are no limitations, why did we stick to just a 43 or a 45-minute episode?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If there are if there's no restriction of whatever, because you could do hours, an hour episode. You could do a 30-minute episode, and yet we stuck with just that.
Well, they found,
that's interesting.
They found that people appreciate the 45 minutes because we're all kind of used to it from network television. So we're kind of conditioned in a way for that time. And they found that people don't really watch as much after an hour.
Wow.
With episodic. So they crunched all the numbers on it.
I'm with Patty. And if you feel that way, Patty, I want a show to be an hour. I want a big, substantial chunk, and I think that partly it's because the younger people really don't have the attention span.
Yeah, that's right.
Thing where a show is, 2.5 minutes or something, and that's the whole show. It's like,
but they need. I think they need to be educated again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It cannot be just MTV sound bites or whatever that is. They have to be educated to concentrate. And I think if you have the material, time disappears. It just really disappears. We've all seen things that were 7 hours long, or gone into the theater and it's 3 hours long. A movie is 3 hours long, and you're thinking. When I walk going, holy shit, and then when I walk out, I went, wow, that went fast.
Yeah.
If the material's good, it's going to.
Also, people they're not watching things anymore solely, so they're watching Netflix, but they're also on their phone.
Right.
Not like us, where we'll just sit there and watch it. People are doing 3 other different things.
And that's
like my daughter. My daughter would watch. She has a TV in her room and a computer, but she's watching a movie on her phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would you watch a movie on your phone? Because they're doing so many other different things that we would never do.
I wonder where that is going.
Yeah.
Not good, whatever it is.
No, I agree.
Where that is going in terms of what it's making of people's abilities and minds. I mean, it sounds awful. And I've never seen it myself, but it's not going anyplace good for anybody.
Laura Patterson has just joined us. Laura has a 30-year career in the industry working for and with some incredible producers and entertainment lawyers. So Laura, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. My great pleasure. Thank you for
Laura.
We one of the things that we're doing with the live broadcasts is we're playing Celebrity Password. And yesterday, Laura was our contestant with Jodie Foster, and they played 3 rounds of Celebrity Password and had a great time.
It was a wonderful time, and everybody told me how incredibly lucky I was to have drawn that contestant. It was a great honor. It was an honor.
So you got to see all 3 episodes last night, too?
I saw all 3 episodes last night. You were amazing. Miss Lupon, you were
thank you.
Extraordinary.
Thank you.
Just so evocative of the character, and was so much fun. It was delightful.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We were just talking about how entertainment is changing because of multiple screens, and this show, it's criminal to have multiple screens. It is amazing to look at. The costumes, some of the hats that you guys wear, like it brings me back to Sondheim. Who still wears a hat? Those hats were pieces of art, and just to step back into that time frame was such a gift. So, have you guys seen Bandersnatch on Netflix, which I think is one of the ways that they're trying to take what you're saying about the way people are consuming entertainment. It's about interaction and control. That's why people are doing it on their phone, so that they can be commenting or looking things up. Bandersnatch was a choose your own adventure television show. You were making choices for the characters, and that led you to the next plot point. It was really fascinating and something that I thought, I wonder if that's the next step for us.
I can't think like that. I want to be entertained.
I don't want to think that.
Exactly.
Well, it's what you were saying, like, that's why you have a director. There is
Yeah.
someone who is guiding you down that path. Yeah. It's pretty
That's
fascinating.
tough. I can't imagine. I think I would give up. You know, I look at the screen, I look at the proscenium, and the proscenium is everything. You know, the stage, a television, film, to be entertained. Do you know what I mean? Not that I'm not going to think, but I don't know. The interaction is personal, and it's, I'm sure the interaction on this thing is personal too. What am I trying to say here? Forget it. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say.
The point is to go there, as you know, you are only one.
Yes.
Go there. And
Yeah.
I really shape up this new direction.
Yeah, it's escapism. It shouldn't be additional work.
Yes, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
I think it's been a long time coming because I had a daughter in high school and she graduated high school in 92. So those would be the very early 90 years. And it was a whatever you call a corded wired phone in those days. She was on the phone. There was no computer, but she was on the phone and doing her homework and playing music on her record player. Yeah. So I mean that multi
Stimulation. There are
Yes,
multiple
yeah.
levels of, yeah.
Now she's probably trying to prevent her daughters from doing what the current iteration of that is. That's your daughter.
It's always like the grass is greener. There's always something
Right,
better somewhere else.
right.
You know, it's on your phone, it's on your TV, it's in the next room, it's over there.
Yeah.
Something that kind of distracts you from you.
Right.
Not one of
Wow.
So, you know what I mean?
Perfectly put. Yes, indeed.
I think that's why it had the breakdown of relationships.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to stay. Nobody wants to stay in it and fight through it and get
Right.
through the icky stuff.
Yeah.
There's somebody else. Let's just
Right.
keep moving.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's all part and parcel of the same problem, really.
And it's very cultural, and it's very globally cultural too.
Yeah.
I think you read about it impacting traditional cultures in countries around the world, including China and other very, very traditional cultures.
No, this is the death of us.
Yeah.
This thing.
And the internet. I think the internet too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was saying when I
feel
grew,
old-fashioned.
remember when we grew up? At least I know we had the phone, the dial phone, and you had to call back.
Right.
Remember?
Yeah.
And there was even a time, I remember the first time that I left a voicemail message. I was like shaking with embarrassment and nervousness at recording my phone on my friend. Yeah. Now look at here.
And when there were operators who said, "Number, please."
Right.
Oh, wow.
Part of the times we
Yeah.
heard every word. You could hear the person talking to breathing.
Yeah.
When I was growing up on Long Island, something in the telephone system got totally screwed up, so that there were party lines. Does anybody remember
Sure.
a party line?
Sure.
You could
No.
call in, and you'd hear a ton of kids on the line.
Really?
You don't know,
Oh my
you didn't know
God.
where they were from, who they were,
And how it would become a chat room.
It was, yes, exactly. But it was sort of like something got screwed up in the telephone system, that these party lines have to happen. And I remember you could pick up the phone and the whole conversation would be going on. There'd be like 20
Wow.
people on the phone. It was crazy.
The sad thing about all of this is that, with all of these communication devices, when they do surveys, particularly among younger kids, loneliness and social isolation has never been higher. So all of
That's
these
right.
kids have 300 followers on Facebook, and they're on Instagram and all that stuff. But when they ask them, do you have 3 people in your life who you can really have an open conversation with, the answer is I don't have I don't have anyone.
Well, maybe,
I personally, I only have Zoom friends now.
Yeah, there we go.
All I have.
I was going to say, maybe this is like nature taking the pendulum all the way to the very, very far edge of it and saying...
And we actually don't even exist, Dylan. We're
Exactly.
We're going back to what you were, go ahead, sweetie.
Holly, go ahead.
Going back to what you were saying, nobody looks anybody in the eye
yeah,
anymore.
yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so how can anyone have an intimate relationship if you're not looking somebody in the eye?
Yeah.
If you can't read, human nature, if you can't. So, but not that.
Yeah.
And what does that even look like now with the situation?
Oh my God.
It's even further away.
Exactly. How's everybody doing, by the way? How are you all doing in COVID-19?
Well, that's a long story. We've got 250 residents on the campus. 165 or so are in independent and assisted living, like these folks. So their health is relatively good. And then about another 65 or 70 that are in long-term care, memory care, sort of, with multiple comorbidities, and we've lost 6 of them. We've lost 6 of our dear friends.
Before the state mandated stay at home, we put precautions in place and started screening people at the front gate. We closed off all of the multiple entrances and made it one entry point, and stopped the family visitations early. But we did that to buy time. There wasn't ever an expectation that we were going to stop COVID-19 from coming to the campus, but it gave Bob and all the clinical staff enough time to put a plan in place to be able to isolate people and try and make sure that we had the ability to care for them. And I'm grateful for that, because it could have been spreading like wildfire around the entire campus, and it's isolated in one building on the north side of this beautiful 23-acre campus. The rest of the group is not as impacted. Clearly, it's still very difficult because people aren't able to be face-to-face, and there's no communal dining like there has been. But we're doing everything that we can, and hopefully Phil, Laura, Margot, you guys can speak to your emotional well-being is as important to us as your physical health, and we want to make sure that you're connected and you know that it's not social separation, you're still socially connected. And creatively, hopefully, continue to flourish, Phil.
Yeah.
They're socially connected by you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Thanks,
the
Margo.
leadership that Jen and Bob provide, and the sort of all-embracing umbrella of their care, their complete dedication to care is beyond words. And nobody could do justice to what they provide in terms of comfort, reassurance, just the caring. I mean, I'm here in extraordinary comfort in my cottage. I have, at the moment, I have my dream life because I like to write. So I have all the time for that and none of the distractions. But I know at the same time, feet away from me, people are battling with very tragic situations. And because I'm sort of addicted to social media myself, so I follow MPTF on Facebook and on Instagram, so I can see all the amazing things that are happening around campus. And all of these are either captured, memorialized by, or led by, or inspired by Bob and Jennifer, who there's just no words that we can...
That's very kind, but there's a huge team of people, and we're serving thousands of people in the entertainment community. We have a COVID-19 emergency relief fund that people who are out of work, because you guys all know production has stopped completely, they can turn to us and our social workers We have a child care center. We take care of people from 6 months to, the last breath. And
Yeah.
We used to jokingly say cradle to grave, and now, unfortunately, it's never been truer. And, I think for us, the most tragic part of this, because many of these residents who have passed, a woman who passed last Thursday was 99 years old. She was Stanley Kramer's executive secretary, so that sort of dates her. She had a rich, long, fulfilling life, and it wasn't going to last forever for her. But, she died in this isolation unit. No family, no one can go in to see her, and she's surrounded, if you've seen these photos, it's medical caregivers with gowns, goggles, masks, caps, gloves. After 99 years, your last glimpse of humanity, it looks like you've dropped into some bad science fiction movie. And that for all of us who are interested in visual medium and storytelling and the end of life and the quality of end of life, that part is just so heartbreaking. We had another resident who died earlier last week who had been married for 65 years. His wife is on campus as well. I mean, the most loving, affectionate, physically intimate couple you've ever seen. Always, if they're next to each other, holding hands, rubbing each other's arms.
he would serenade her often.
And, and she's blind. So she couldn't even look at him on an iPad and see a last glimpse of him. I mean, that just...
But, again...
And this person brings joy and entertainment and life and vitality and engagement to all of these people in this crazy world.
We are turning to our New York community as well. We have people from Marie's Crisis who turn happy hour every day into a joyous, music-filled hour. And we had Kenny Green from Marie's Crisis on yesterday, and when he heard that the three of you were going to be on, lost his mind a little bit and wanted to say hello to you all. So, yeah.
So,
and you also plug into Richard Weitz's
right.
Yeah, Quarantunes on Zoom. Have you guys heard of this? This agent from WME and his daughter have raised over $700,000 on weekends doing Zoom parties where they're having people perform live, and like Josh Gad, Leslie Odom Jr., a number of... Brandy Newman.
Yeah.
Barry Manilow showed up on the quarantine party last week. So they're coming on to talk to us today at 3 o'clock.
That's
Yeah.
so nice.
So I just want to bring it back around to why we all gathered, because we have taken up more time than I really thought we were going to get from you guys, and I'm so grateful that you called and that you care, and that we were able to share a little bit about how we're doing and what's happening here at MPTF. Let's wrap it up with a little bit more about Hollywood, because there are 4 more episodes that you guys get to see. A lot of Ryan Murphy content, like the series, turn into their own like anthologies, like American Horror Story. And is there already whispers that this is going to hit different points in Hollywood's history? Maybe with the same cast?
I'm hoping it's with the same cast because I love them so much.
We're hoping that too.
So I'm curious, when did you shoot this?
God, we just finished in finished in January.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's amazing how fast it came out.
Yeah.
Fastest turnaround I've ever.
Jennifer,
Yeah.
Margot.
can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Hi. I know my video went out on my cell phone. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
So what? I don't know if you've read all the scripts. You wonderful actors to the end of the season. Where does it reach? How far does it go in time?
1
The
year.
series. What year does it end? You know?
Well, what Holland just said, I don't know if you could hear her. She said it takes place over the course of a single year.
Really?
Yeah, it's post World War II, and
How many episodes is it?
7.
7.
And I'm going to
year-
stop answering.
And it's post-war. I didn't know the exact, what year did it take place?
1946 to 47.
46, okay. Thank you. You were all wonderful. I loved it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So when we come out of this, whatever you want to call this, what's up next for all of you? Let's think of bright futures. Dylan, what do you have lined up that we might
You know, I was in the middle of doing a film called King Richard with Will Smith about Serena and Venus Williams. So hopefully that will continue maybe September. I don't know. It really depends. I don't know how it all is going to work with, you know, proximity is a real issue because there's hair, there's makeup, there's wardrobe, people touching each other, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure without a vaccine how it all works, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Patty, what's up next for you?
Well, if Broadway reopens, I go back into company, but that's going to be the last thing in New York City.
Yeah.
And so that they say when, I wonder about that. I really wonder because it's going to be a long time. I'm hoping we get picked up and we go back to work in September.
Yeah. Holland, how about you?
Well, like Patty, I was about to do a play. In fact, this week I was supposed to have my first week's rehearsal for the Pasadena Playhouse. I was doing my play, and
Otis.
big dogs.
It's Otis, but he sounds so much bigger.
Is it Otis?
Yeah, it's Otis. Yeah.
I have to comment, Dylan. You have the most beautiful lighting you've arranged for yourself, either on purpose or by accident. There's sort of a halo of glimmering stardust around Dylan, and he's backed by a gorgeous fig tree. Patty has the most beautiful makeup I've ever seen.
Thank you, darling.
Well, luckily I was quarantined with a small crew that I kept.
Just your gaffer, your cinematographer.
You got to put some slap on, girl. You got to put some slap on.
Anyway, about the play, it's very tricky. I mean, here, of course, the 150 people making a movie in very real situations, and people cheap by jowl and makeup and hair. I mean, when is that going to happen again? But also the theater. I mean, Pasadena Playhouse is a 650-seat house. I was looking forward to doing this with the greatest joy. I'm still relearning it. I have about 2 more pages out of a 38-page script, and I rehearse it every day with FaceTime. I have an assistant who rehearse it, who watch the book while I'm going through it, because it's this huge text, and I have to just keep it on simmer to make it very long simmer. I mean, what will it be, a year before it plays?
Wow. God, don't say that. I'll be in the poorhouse. There'll be creditors hounding me on every side.
Oh gosh.
I want to be in the poorhouse with you, Pat.
Yeah, we all do. No, we want to be in her poor basement.
On vacation once, and we were in the same two-banger, and hearing Patty sings all the time. Patty just sings at the slightest impulse, for fun or seriously, and she brightens up. And I'm sitting there doing my makeup, and I think there's Patty LaPone. She loves it as well. Very excited.
Thank you, honey. And I only sing 2 lines or 2 words because that's all I ever know.
We, as MPTF, we've been very fortunate. Patty performed for A Fine Romance for us years and years ago. Not that many years ago. We were at
I
the
remember
Fox.
that.
Yeah.
No, it was a long time ago.
It's about maybe 8 years ago.
Hugh Jackman the MC of that?
Yeah.
Hugh and
Funny how you remembered that, Patty. Yeah.
Because he begged for a job, and then all of a sudden Wolverine happened. But is that how it happens in Hollywood? You just say you want a job and you get Wolverine?
If you look like him, yes.
I suppose.
But we are grateful for all of the support throughout the years. I know, Holland, you've been to our evening before party, and what we do on the ground every day is possible because people in the community are there supporting each other, and we're grateful for the time that you spent today and for every way that you've given in the past. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Stay safe. Stay
Yeah.
safe, you guys.
Thank you.
Well, and
You guys too.
And congratulations on this series. I can't wait for everybody here to see the last 4 episodes.
Thank you.
Yay!
Thanks so much.
I love you. I miss you.
Bye. Love you guys. Nice to see you. Be safe, everyone.
Bye.
too.
Thank you, guys.